3 rings for the elven kings under the sky, 7 for the dwarf lords in their halls of stone, 9 for mortal men doomed to die, 1 for the Dark Lord on his dark throne, in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie, 1 ring to rule them all, 1 ring to find them, 1 ring to bring them all, and in the darkness find them, in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie. Today, we delve into the Lord of the Rings and his greatest works. Sauron's greatest works, obviously, were the Rings of Power, assisted with the elves of the Gwaith y Myrddin in the region, as well as Celebrimbor. Today, we will be kicking off a new series, which I will conduct on this channel, depicting the Rings of Power. Starting with the lesser of the rings, we have the 3 Elven Rings of Power. 3 rings for the elven kings under the sky. Before we commence, stewards and scholars, I implore you, if you wish to hinder Sauron's efforts and cataclysmic strikes against the realm of Arnor and Gondor utilizing the Witch King as we uncovered last week, I implore you, strike down the subscribe button using the Flame of the West. And be sure to use the Flame of the West in order to smash the notification bell if you are enjoying the weekly uploads to the Lord of the Rings and the entirety of the Legendarium's works. Now, my friends, let us commence with the Rings of Power, the 3 Elven Rings. Described in the works of the Silmarillion, published in 1977, the elves made many other magical rings, but they were mere practice for the craftsmen who created them in Sauron. Their ultimate fates are left unknown, nor it is known whether or not they were bound to the powers of the One Ring. If they were, then their powers should have instantly dissipated and failed with the destruction of the One Ring at the hands of Frodo and Gollum in Mount Doom. Celebrimbor, widely considered to be, aside from Fëanor, the greatest elven smith in all of Tolkien's works, forged the 3 elven rings by himself. They were never touched by Sauron, nor was his dark persona ever induced upon it and encased within them. They were named Narya, the Ring of Fire, Nenya, the Ring of Adamant, which was wielded by Galadriel, and Vilya, the Ring of Air. Narya was first born by High King Gil-galad, who later on gave it to Círdan the Shipwright, the oldest elf in Middle-earth who was stated to have lived for 10,000 years. And lastly, was worn by Gandalf the Grey during his many travels in Middle-earth. Gil-galad initially owned Vilya before Elrond inherited it after the latter's death. Nenya was worn only by Galadriel throughout her many millennia in Middle-earth. They remained hidden, and the whereabouts of the 3 were not openly revealed until the end of the Third Age, after the One Ring was decimated in the cracks of Mount Doom at the hands of Frodo and Gollum. The Dark Lord Sauron was overthrown, his dark presence finally incapacitated and distraught and dispersed from the lands of Middle-earth. The location of these rings was ensued. Instead of making the wearer invisible, these rings were themselves invisible to anyone who did not want them to be seen. Galadriel revealed her possession of one of the rings to Frodo Baggins while he was in her realm of Lothlorien, after his possession of the One Ring enabled him to see her ring. Later, while travelling down the river Anduin, Frodo spoke of it to Aragorn, who admonished him not to speak of it outside of Lorien, due to the fact it could be heard by one of Sauron's forces, and allured to the fact they knew where it was. Each of the 3 Elven Rings of Power had special and exotic properties, but their powers were limited in comparison to the One Ring. During the Council of Elrond stated that neither Rivendell nor Lorien, nor the powers of the Grey Havens, the locations of the 3 Elven Rings, had the power to withstand the might of Mordor combined. Narya, also named the Ring of Fire, was one of the 3 rings. According to the event of Unfinished Tales, at the start of the War of the Elves and Sauron, in the middle of the Second Age, Celebrimbor gave Narya to Círdan the Shipwright, Lord of the Havens of Mithlond, who kept it after Gil-galad's death. In the Third Age, Círdan, recognizing Gandalf's true nature as one of the Maiar from Valinor, one of the supreme light god entities of Tolkien's work, and second only to the Valar and Eru Ilúvatar himself, gave him the ring to aid him in his labours. It was described as having the power to inspire others to resist tyranny, domination, and despair. In other words, incurring and invoking hope from others around the wielder, as well as giving resistance to the weariness of time. "Take now this ring," he said, "for thy labours and thy cares will be heavy, but in all it will support thee and defend thee from weariness. For this is the ring of fire, and herewith maybe thou shalt rekindle hearts to valour of old in the world that grows chill." Narya was worn openly by Gandalf during his time in Middle-earth at his departure from the Grey Havens. It was a golden ring adorned and inlaid with a bloody red ruby. Now we move on to Nenya, also named the Ring of Water, the Right Ring, and the Ring of Adamant, was one of the 3 elven rings. The name is derived of the Quenya Nen, meaning water. Nenya was depicted and described as being made of mithril and set with a glittering white stone, presumably a diamond. However, this is never explicitly stated, although the usage of the word adamant, an old synonym, is strongly suggestive of this fact. Mithril was the most coveted material that the dwarves of Khazad-dûm delved so deeply into their minds to seek. This would eventually incur the awakening of the Balrog, and the Balrog would eventually kill King Durin VI and his heir. The ring was wielded by Galadriel of Lothlorien, and possessed radiance that matches that of the stars of Elendil. While Frodo Baggins could see it by virtue of being a ring-bearer, Samwise Gamgee tells Galadriel he only saw a star shimmering through your fingers. This appears in many editions as finger, which sounds more magical, suggests it was a finger that had somehow become transparent. But the Treason of Aragorn, chapter 13, note 34, mentions it as an error. Nenya's power of preservation, protection, and possibly concealment from evil and the forces of darkness, because it's stated about Lorien that there is a secret power here that holds evil from the land. However, the fact that orcs from Moria entered Lorien after the Fellowship of the Ring entered the forest, and Lorien itself had suffered previous attacks from Sauron's orc strike teams sent from Dol Guldur, suggests the power of the ring could not constitute military prowess and success. It was said that it was protected as it was by Nenya. Lothlorien would not have fallen unless Sauron had personally come to attack the realm, as Galadriel's will, accompanied by the power of her ring, was too great. Galadriel used these powers to create and sustain Lorien, making it prosper in the years to come. But it also increased her longing for the sea and her desire to return to the undying lands of Valinor. After the destruction of the One Ring and the defeat of Sauron during the Third Age, the climactic battle of the Morannon, its power faded, along with the other Rings of Power's ability. Galadriel bore Nenya on a ship from the Grey Havens into the west, accompanied by the other 2 elven rings and their bearers. With the ring gone, the magic and beauty of Lorien also faded, along with the extraordinary Malorn trees that had lived for centuries. It was gradually depopulated by elves. By the time Arwen came there to die in the Fourth Age 121, a year after Aragorn to Lesser had met his end, Lothlorien was deserted and in ruin. Finally, we have Vilya, the last of the Elven Rings of Power. Vilya, the Ring of Air, Blue Ring, and the Dominant Ring, also known as the Ring of the Sapphire, was the greatest and most formidable of the 3 rings. When Sauron eventually laid waste to Eregion, killing Celebrimbor, Vilya, along with Narya, was sent to Elven King Gil-galad far away in the realm of Lindon, as Gil-galad was High King of the Noldor at the time of the ring's distribution, and it was thought that he was the best fit to care for the most powerful of the 3 Elven rings. After his death in the War of the Last Alliance, the ring eventually passed to Elrond Half-Elven, who bore it throughout the events of the Third Age. Like the other 2 rings of the elves, Vilya was jeweled and contained a great sky blue stone set in a gold band, which contributed to its titles as the Ring of Sapphire and the Blue Ring. Vilya was also known as the Ring of Air, signifying its preeminence even over the other rings of the elves. Since Vilya was the mightiest of these 3 bands, as mentioned in the ending chapter of The Return of the King, the exact power commanded of Vilya is not explicitly stated. It is reasonable, however, to speculate, theorize, and hypothesize that it also possesses the power to heal and to preserve others, as it is mentioned in the Silmarillion that Celebrimbor had forged the 3 for these purposes, rather than to enhance the strength of each individual bearers as the 7, 9, and the Lesser Rings did. There is much speculation that the ring controlled minor and mediocre events, considering the events where Elrond had summoned a torrent of water as the Nazgul attempted to invade Rivendell on pursuit of Glorfindel. The ring could have possessed the power to see into the future, as Elrond had the incredible gift of foresight. However, these powers may simply have been natural gifts of his. Upon the One Ring's destruction, the power of Valyria faded, and it was taken over the sea by Elrond at the end of the Third Age, sailing west along with Bilbo Baggins, Gandalf, Galadriel, Círdan the Shipwright, and Frodo Baggins, all 4 or 5 of them being ringwraiths or ring bearers or historic figures throughout history. Well, friends, that was the first installment of the Rings of Power series. The 3 rings of the elves are truly some of the most intriguing prospects and subjects to cover in Middle-earth lore. And I hope that you will like and subscribe if you wish to assail Sauron the Great, as next week we delve into the Dwarf Lord's 7 rings in their halls of stone. I bid you farewell, men of the West, and stewards of the Gondor, and abominations of Mordor. I hope I'll see you in my next video. And goodbye. I hope that you do not find yourself on the other side of Sauron's immeasurable power.